Hello everybody, we are back with our professional yogis interview series, and in today's episode I am thrilled to introduce you to Mysan. Mysan is a yoga teacher and well-known yoga teacher, especially in the corner of the Yin Yoga, from Sydney, and a teacher trainer as well. Welcome Mysan, this is so great to have you here.
Thank you, great to be here.
Mysan, you say you're passionate about yoga, if I see your website, and your message really is you want to see smiling faces, and you teach both. You teach hatha and yin yoga, and you also lecture on functional anatomy, and you travel. You just came back from Bali hosting an international yoga teacher training. That's amazing. You're originally from Sweden, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's
okay.
Right.
Another European who ended up in Australia. Yeah. Tell us about your evolution. I am so interested. I mean, this is the dream of any yoga teacher, to move into this direction from teaching yoga to become a teacher trainer and travel the world and lecture. Tell us about it.
Well, I started yoga probably 15 more. Something like that years ago. I was living in the European Alps for years, snowboarding and skiing, and which is a pretty hardcore sport. I got really broken and I needed to stretch. So that's why I started yoga, and that's how I started to find my way around things. So since I was 18, I've been working outdoors and working with people and exercise and range of motion. Firstly, then with skiing and snowboarding, and then as I couldn't do that as a profession anymore, as a be in the mountains anymore because my body was too broken, I took up yoga a little bit more full time. And as I progressed within yoga, I was still working outdoors. I was teaching kayaking. I was teaching kayaking and yoga and kayaking and fitness classes, which was amazing out on the ocean here in Sydney. When I moved from the mountains to Australia, I swapped the snow to the ocean and the sand. So I continuously just taught yoga in different ways, taught range of motion, taught fitness. So I have a sports science, range of motion, remedial massage, and a lot of anatomy background. So because the body was such interest for me on such broad basis, from the skeleton out to range of motion, and in so many aspects, so from yoga to kayaking to skiing to snowboarding, I just felt like I wanted to do something more. So when I became an established teacher, it was kind of just easy to go further and started to teach, firstly, mentoring sessions for teachers, which was my start. Because I think because I have such big background of exercise and range of motion and anatomy, it was quite easy for me to explain to teachers what was going on in the body in a real clear and visual way. So that's where I started, and that's where what kicked it off, I think.
So that's a very gradual way, and this is actually the path I'm going as well. So for a little while now I'm mentoring teachers as well, because I thought for myself it's actually a big step to go from being a teacher to be a teacher trainer, and it shouldn't be as rushed. If you look at the tradition of yoga, this the teacher trainers, they have been studying and practicing yoga for decades. So if you end up with a yoga teacher trainer who has maybe only practiced for 5 years, I don't know what you get out of that. I don't want to judge that in any way, but still it's it's a quality, isn't it?
I think so too, and I think it's a very gradual process, and I think because I constantly educate myself. I go and see my teacher yearly, and I study anatomy yearly, and I study yoga yearly with teachers. And I think that is something that's really important too, because if I'm going to educate teachers, I need to always be one step ahead. Because, you know, as you know, we get fired questions left, right, and center from really intelligent teachers that comes to our training. So we need to be on the ball. So it's not only, you know, to have a gradual process and have your own practice, but your own learnings and go to see your teachers too. I think is really important continuously.
I love that you're saying that, because that's the idea of the professional yogis, the event we have now on this weekend, to bring back together junior with senior teachers, because that has gotten lost in some way. So that's why we established back this mentorship program, the connections, and just raise awareness that it's important for yoga teachers to find senior teachers as well. So who's your mentor, or who are your mentors?
Well, I do study yearly with my teacher Paul Grilly and his wife Susie, so I go and see them yearly. They're probably my main kind of mentors that I have in life. I've also been assisting Paul and Susie in their teacher trainings in Yin. So that's amazing. I study with Tom Myers. I study anatomy with Tom Myers a lot. And my hatha yoga teacher in Sydney is Mark O'Brien that owns Key Yoga, who's also a dear friend of mine. But his knowledge of hatha yoga and the ancient texts are just purely amazing. He just has so much knowledge. So I always have them around, and it's, you know, at my fingertips. I have Mark because I'm a senior teacher at his studio, and I teach teacher training with him. So I'm so fortunate. You know.
How did that happen? How did you transition from being the student to become the teacher? So how and then the teacher trainer? Like, how did that happen? How did that occur? Did you ask for it?
No, it was very organically, and I was asked to do it. I feel with yoga, it's not so much about us asking to do it, but for me, I'd rather be asked to do it, because then I see that someone sees the value in what I do, and I'm at the right part where I need to be. It was the same. So Mark asked me to start teaching a little bit more of Yin and a little bit more anatomy. He asked me to teach the anatomy for the hatha yoga big year diploma that we have at Key. So that was amazing, because I teach so functionally and so straightforward. It's quite a fun anatomy training, which is a little bit unusual for anatomy. And the same with Paul. We had a discussion, and he's like, I think, you know, he kind of gave me the thumbs up that go and teach this. And that was my push to go and set up the courses, and with their help, finding the way to do it, and the most efficient way to do it. And, you know, the setup that has been done, it's just proven really, really successful. So it feels more, it's an organic process, I think, and it feels more like it's just coming naturally. It's not pushed or forced or, oh, I got to do this, but it's kind of an invitation to it.
And you open up for that, up for it. I think what you said is important, to invest in your education, because out of that, you will reap a lot. Of course, it is all practice, but training and educating yourself is the most important thing as well, and to stay close to your teachers, because they nudge you into the directions you sometimes don't see you should go to. And just little heads up here and there. But I, you know, as you said, I think continuously educating yourself, but your own practice. You know, it's just the most important thing. You need to have your own practice. You need to have your own meditation. You need to have your own yoga practice. In my opinion, when you're a yoga teacher, it's not just about going in to teach a class, but you live yoga. You know, it's
everything outside. It's about recycling, about taking care of nature. It's about being compassionate in the world. And that comes with more and more practice on and off the mat. So I think that's a huge one.
Yes.
If you don't have your own practice, you need to start to develop one.
Yes, yes. I completely agree. That shouldn't come too short. Then my next question would be, what were your biggest challenges when you started teaching and when you started teaching teachers?
It's funny when I think back at it. It always felt very organic and natural for me to teach. So it was never a big challenge. It was like I was meant to do it. And I think that's another important point.
Yeah.
I think teachers, and I've always said this, when I do not teach from my heart anymore, when I feel like it's not my love, my passion, I need to stop. But I think because it's always been that passion for me, it was a natural progress. I remember when I started teaching yoga, firstly, it was a little bit about finding my voice. That was a little bit of a challenge. As in, I always thought that I had a bad singing voice, so doing ums was really intimidating. So just finding that voice to be able to voice it in front of people, you know, while now I chant in front of people and I couldn't care less how I sound because that's not what it's all about. But when I started, I remember that was a challenge. How can I protect my voice? How can I make myself heard in this proper way? But as soon as I just started teaching and it came from my heart, it comes naturally.
Yes.
And I think that's the key. So I think it's a lot about not overthinking, but letting it flow out a little bit.
Yeah. Isn't yoga teaching then really getting to be a great self-development tool? I mean, you really see how you blossom when you're in your flow and when you're not. And, I found it amazing, and especially, I mean, your second language is now also English, so you can tell you're fluent, you're almost accent free, but still, it's finding your voice is also finding the right language. And I think if you speak in your second language, you actually get quite open for what words do I choose, how do I choose them, and we're very, very much aware of that, isn't it?
Yeah. And the tone of voice, because the tone of voice, as you know, as well in our European language, is often a little harsher or a little bit more kind of straightforward, while we have to soften the tone of voice. So it's so many aspects of it that needs to be kind of explored and looked into. So that was challenging when I started teaching as a teacher. When I started teaching teachers, again, it came really organically and naturally. I was ready for it. I felt that it was the right thing to do. I felt that I still feel that I have really good knowledge and information and understandings to share. And I think that's what it's all about. So again, it wasn't much of many issues that came about. It was just quite naturally. But when you start teaching teachers, these are amazing people that comes to see you they come from all different backgrounds. So Ashtangis and Anusaras and Hatha Yogis and restorative. And they have gone to a bunch of different yogi schools that has taught them amazing stuff. So here I am, and I'm going to teach all of these people from all these different backgrounds that has different opinions and slightly different views, even though it's yoga. So a challenge there has been to sometimes get everyone to see a similar picture. And I don't need everyone to see the same picture because that's not how we work. But we need to be on some sort of same page. And that is sometimes tricky when people have, and so some people have a lot of anatomy knowledge, some people have no anatomy knowledge, some people have a lot of know the sutras, know the texts, and some people do not know the texts. So how to put a training together that can cater for that wide, broad audience, and so everyone takes up and gets something really valued from it. that is a bit of a challenge.
Yes.
That's always a bit of a challenge. So it's a lot about listening to feedback.
Yeah.
What can I take out? What can I fill in? What do we need to change? So that might be a challenge. Yeah. But again, that's the beauty around it. You know, you see what everyone is on about and what they have learned and what they want to learn, and you have to change with it to make it better and better. Yeah. So that's a bit of a challenge, but a good challenge.
Yeah. I love how you see that, because I think this is similar to even for beginning teachers who may have an advanced student in their class or another teacher in their class, and they get really nervous about it. And what you just said is just listen to the feedback and give the best you can, what you know, and not everybody has to agree with you, really. You know, not everybody has to be.
That's never going to happen, right? It's never going to happen. But I think as long as you teach from your heart and you do the best, what you believe is the best to give, then I think you're pretty safe. And I know for many of my mentor students, they have a hard time. Well, that person didn't like my class, or, you know, they don't like it. Everyone doesn't like it. And that doesn't really matter. I think the people that needs to come and see you as a teacher or as a teacher of teachers, they will come and see you. The right tribe that needs to hear what you have to say and what you have to teach, they will come see you. And then there will always be, I think it's like 1 in 10. If you teach 10 people, one of those people will not like what you have to say. You can't win them all. You can't please everyone, and that's totally okay. And I think that's important to remember too. Because you just spread what you can.
Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. I think that was like a beautiful, nice summary of everything that we discussed and about your journey. So what's happening in the future in Mysan's life? Where are you heading towards? I mean, what's next?
Well, I'm heading to the States to study with my teacher for 6 weeks. So that happens in about a month. And then I'm writing a few books.
Oh, so, a few books.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, one is my first little experiment. It's called Moments of Inspiration, and it's only a few clicks on the computer to be printed in first version and see what it looks like. And it's a tiny little book, and it's just kind of like 24 short stories of inspiration.
Oh,
so it's a tiny little book. But the second one is my real inspiration, which is a lot about yin yoga, meridians, life, yoga, and my journey of healing and teaching and sharing that information, so maybe teachers or students can get a little bit more ammo to move from, to heal from, to use in classes, to use in life. So that's a little bit of a bigger project, which is happening, and it's probably happening in Swedish too.
Yes. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So so that's happening. So I've kind of set away October, November, December, January to just write a little bit more and see how far I get with it.
Yeah.
So that's happening. There's retreats coming up in October in Bali, and then teacher training starts in Sydney again in February. So it's like this
fantastic cycle. Living the dream. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Very admirable. Very, very admirable. So students can reach you on your website, which is mysan.com, which I love. You've got your own domain name. It's like mysan.com.
.au.
Okay, Australian version. So definitely. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
One more question I have now, and that was diversifying your teaching, or niching it down, and that's what you've done, and I think that has given you a head start to apart from gave you a lot of employment now in teacher. You're really focused on yin. You focus on one thing. Is that when did you decide to do that?
So yin has been a part of my life for a long time, since I was injured, and it healed me quite well. So, I teach hatha and I teach yin, and you know, yin has its name because it needs its yang.
Yeah.
So you can't just practice yin; you need to practice yang as well. And hatha is that yang.
Yeah.
But I started. So when I started teaching yin, it was pretty much no one else in Sydney teaching yin. And I went to the studio and I said, I want to teach yin. And Mark goes, oh, here we go. She has another idea.
Yeah.
And he said yes. And then it just boomed and took off. So that it was something that I was passionate about and that was right for me. And I think that comes back to teach from your heart, to teach your passion. So whatever you have a passion in, may it be astrology and yoga, put it together and make it yours. Make it your niche. So that worked for me. So that was, I don't know when we probably started 2009 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that's how, again, it happened organically because it was my passion, my heart that drove me to it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. That's exactly, I think, what many need to hear. Like, listen to your heart. Don't try to copy anyone. Really do what you're passionate about. It could be astrology and yoga. It could be surfing and yoga. It could be Kundalini yoga.
Right.
It could be, or it could be hatha yoga, pure hatha yoga. It could be purely in Iyengar yoga.
Yeah.
I think that's the best. Rather than being jack of all trades, I think it's important also to focus.
To pinpoint, like maybe even picking 1, 2, or 3, but not more.
Yeah.
Little niches that you have. And I always say to my teacher trainees, you know, teach what is right for you. Find your way. Don't just go and do what your teacher. So what I am teaching you, don't just copy me, but make it yours. Find your own voice. Find your own interest in it. Where does it suit you? And if you don't believe me, go and study with other people or Google it or read more books, because don't just take my opinion. Don't just make it my way. Make it your way. I think that's important.
That's a yin approach too. So I haven't studied yin as such, but I haven't done a teacher training. I have studied yin and read books and taught or teach yin as well. And I see, especially in the yin tradition, this is a really emphasized point, to make it yours, to feel it into yours. Even the sequencing is oftentimes said, you know, it has to make anatomical sense, but feel into it that it's yours. It's not necessarily strictly Ashtanga, like you've got to have this pose after this pose after this pose. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mysan. That was an awesome interview. I can't wait to share this, guys. And if you found this interesting, please share it with everyone and leave us your comments below. If you have any comments or questions, you can also email Mysan and check out her website and her offerings. She's traveling the world. She's offering us her book. I can't wait to read both of them.
It will take a while.
I just published a book at the beginning of the year, the Clean Yogi, and it took ages.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Yes, exactly. It's art too. Okay, thank you very much, Mysan.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.